The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to today's webinar with your host, James McDonald.
Well, thank you very much, Andrea. I'd like to start by welcoming our coaching members to Coaching Session 2, and we've got a fantastic topic, as you should all know. What we're going to be talking about is selecting your target market and your unique selling proposition, and we're going to get in-depth on all of the various kinds of USPs that you can be implementing right now. And there may be a lot of you that are thinking that a unique selling proposition automatically means a guarantee, maybe the guaranteed sale program. Well, a guarantee is simply one kind of USP. And we're going to show you that, well, number one, there are lots of different guarantees that you can use, but also there are other kinds of USPs that are every bit as effective that you can implement right now. And it doesn't matter if you're brand new to the business, doesn't matter whether you're a veteran of the business, whether you have money or you don't. These USPs can be applied into your business right now. And Craig and I are going to be going into depth and exploring all of those various unique selling propositions on today's call. Now, we're very excited to have you on our webinar here, and we really look forward to your participating in our Q&A session towards the later part of today's webinar. So having said that, again, for those of you that may have just joined us, we're talking about selecting your target market and who it is that we want to attract and how we set ourselves apart by creating a unique selling proposition. Those are our topics for today's webinar. It's going to be a good one. We'll look forward to your participating in the Q&A, and at this time, I'd like to turn the call over to Craig. So, Craig, let's get started.
Well, thanks a lot, James. Well said. Today, let's begin with the topic of selecting your target market. You know, if you ask most real estate agents who they're specifically targeting with their marketing, they kind of give you a blank look. They usually say that they're pretty much after anybody and everybody. Well, I want to talk to you about why that's not a good strategy. And it's very important that you do have marketing strategy, that our marketing decisions are based on logic and science versus subjective decisions, which are often the result in financial ruin. And I want you to think about other businesses outside of real estate. Let's take a look at McDonald's, for example. If McDonald's was considering opening a restaurant in your city, they would do some careful research before they made that decision to make sure that the community, that the location could support the restaurant. Well, you know, you and I also have access to similar information called MLS. We are in one of the most documented industries in the world, and we need to start taking advantage of all of this great information that's at our fingertips on MLS. I want to talk to you about how to do that on today's webinar. We also want to look at our own personal situation when it comes to deciding who we're going to target with our marketing. Okay, it's very important for us to understand that we can't be everything to everybody. Okay, you don't have the resources that Coca-Cola has. We can't afford to be everything to everybody, so we have to shrink our marketplace. And you may remember that we did talk about this at this super conference, this idea of shrinking your marketplace. So you need to have an honest look at your present situation and at your resources. For example, let's say that you're fairly new in the real estate business and you don't have a lot of experience and you don't have a lot of money. Well, obviously then, you shouldn't be targeting luxury home sellers. You know, you don't have the credibility and you don't have the money to market their properties. And it would take you perhaps months and months and months to get paid on those transactions. And for most of you, you can't wait that long. If you need to make some now money, that strategy wouldn't make sense at all. Instead, what you should be doing is targeting first-time buyers and sellers. And it shouldn't be a situation where you're just throwing a dart at the wall and saying, okay, who is it that I'm going to target? And although, you know, it would be great if you absolutely loved your target market and eventually you do want to gravitate to people that you really enjoy working with, but right now you might have to do what you need to do, not necessarily what you love to do to make this business work for you. Does that make sense to everybody? Now, most real estate agents let their target market select them. Okay, they don't choose their target market. They let their target market select them. And you know what? I was no different. Let me explain. You see, when I started in real estate 20 years ago, you want to know how I selected my target market? I got my first listing in the London Road area, so that then became my farm area. Now think about it. I could have gotten my first listing anywhere, but because I got my first listing in that particular neighborhood, that became my farm area. And that's the area that I worked for years and years and years. Now, you may say, well, gee, Craig, things worked out pretty well for you, so what's wrong with that approach? Well, face it, I got lucky. But you shouldn't build a business based on luck. A lot of real estate agents do that. They sort of, they get their first listing by mistake, and then that becomes their target market. Okay, that is not a scientific approach. You should be using logic and science when it comes to selecting who you're going to be talking to with your marketing and who you're not going to be talking to. So I'd like to begin by having you write down a couple of notes here. So if you'll grab a pen, I'm going to give you some things to consider when you start to think about who it is that you should be targeting with your marketing, keeping in mind that you can't be everything to everybody. Okay, so please grab your pen. Here's the list that I'd like you to write down. Number one, who should I want to target? Okay, number two, what do they want? Number three, how are you going to give them what they want? How are you going to give that to them? Okay, so who do I want to work with based on your own personal situation and the research that you've done? That's number one. Number two, what do these people want? And number three, how are we going to give them what they want? If you ask most real estate agents who they're trying to target with their marketing efforts, they really don't have a good answer to that. Okay, they'll say to me, well, I'm looking for anybody or everybody in hopes of attracting somebody that wants to buy or sell a house. Okay, and that's not strategy. That's a real problem. When you're trying to be everything to everyone, you're really failing to address the specific needs of anybody. So you see a lot of real estate agents that run ads talking about themselves, or they have generic slogans like, please list with me, I care about your business. And you might fool yourself into thinking that those kinds of statements actually work. But they really don't do a very good job of attracting prospects. Okay, you must understand that if you need to make money right now, you need to be doing very specific things. And the best target, if you need to make cash right away, is to target first-time buyers. Okay, and we have ads to help you attract any type of buyer or seller that you want to work with. But if you need to make money right away, please begin by targeting first-time buyers. Also, you don't need to break the bank running expensive ads to target first-time buyers. You can start by running ads on mediums that either cost you nothing or other very inexpensive mediums. So please write this down. The mediums that I'd like you to begin with to start making money right away, if you don't have a lot of money, start with Google pay-per-click, find inexpensive local newspapers, and run classified and display ads. Okay, these are the mediums. Those are the methods of delivering your marketing message that I'd like you to begin with. Now, I did talk about this at the Super Conference, but let me repeat it. Why first-time buyers? Why are they a great target for those of you that need to make money right away? Because, first of all, first-time buyers are very easy to attract. And obviously, they've got nothing to sell. Also consider that interest rates are historically low. So buying a home in today's market is super affordable. And what I've found is that first-time buyers are also very easy to please. You take them out, you show them 3 or 4 homes, and guess what? Every house you show them is better than that dingy apartment that they're currently renting. And because they don't have a house to sell, you can close these transactions in 30 days and get paid. Because most of these people are on month to month. So you can get paid within a couple of weeks versus working with move-up buyers who already live in a pretty nice home. Think about a move-up buyer that already lives in a pretty nice home. They're going to be very picky because they already live in a pretty nice house. You might have to show them dozens and dozens of homes before they find a home that they want to make an offer on. What that means is it may take months and months and months for you to get paid. And how about this? Even when you find them the perfect home, they still have a house to sell, so your offer must be conditional on the sale of their existing home, which may or may not sell. The difference is between you getting paid in a couple weeks and getting paid months and months down the road, or maybe never. Now, some of you on the webinar here today may feel that, well, this doesn't apply to me, Craig, because I'm already making good money. I'm already doing well. Hey, look, don't ignore this strategy. Even if you're already doing well, this is still a great strategy. I mean, who on our webinar here today doesn't want to make money right away? So you're going to all want to target first-time buyers. Whether you need money like yesterday or whether you're already doing well, first-time buyers represent a great target market, and there's not a lot of competition for first-time buyers. We have some great ads, some great campaigns that'll help you do that. And we're going to talk about the messages that you should be using to attract first-time buyers. But again, the medium that you're going to use, the way you're going to deliver that marketing message to begin with should be through Craigslist because it's free, or in inexpensive newspapers, preferably local newspapers that have free home delivery. So start with the least expensive methods of delivering your marketing message. Now, as far as the messages go, if you want to attract first-time buyers, I would recommend that you run ads like the Fixer-Upper campaign and the Distress Sale campaign and the Must Sell campaign, the ones you see on your screen right now. We've got wonderful campaigns in the marketing library to target first-time buyers. Now, if you're interested in move-up buyers, of course, we have ads as well to attract those move-up buyers, like the Upscale Homes campaign. Some of you might perceive that these campaigns aren't going to work as well for upscale home buyers, and it's not true. We have coaching members from all over the country working in completely different marketplaces, small cities, large cities, rural, it doesn't matter. We have campaigns to help you target any type of buyer or seller that you most want to attract. Okay, we have campaigns for every segment of the marketplace. But I'm specifically talking right now to those of you that need to make money right away. You should now understand what messages you should be running and how to deliver those messages to your selected target market. Next, let's have a conversation with those of you that are already doing well. Okay, for those of you that are already doing well, you don't have this dire need to make cash yesterday. Okay, you're already doing okay. I'd still like you to target first-time buyers because they do represent a great target market, even for those of you that are making good money. But I'd also like you to target move-up buyers. Here are some of the ads that you could run, okay, to attract move-up buyers. You could run the editorial style ads. For example, the 6 trade-up mistakes to avoid when moving to a larger home. Okay, obviously the only prospects that would respond to that campaign are those that already have a house. They're trading up. Or the Save Thousands campaign or the Buyer Traps campaign. all you have to do is go to the marketing library, and you're going to see a wide assortment of campaigns that target both first-time buyers and move-up buyers. And of course, if you're after sellers, let's have a look at the campaigns that we'll recommend to target sellers. The online home evaluation classified ad is an absolute jackpot. Also, the home down the street or area home sales classified ad. That's the ad that says find out what the home down the street sold for. That's another jackpot. Also, test the editorial ads like the costly home seller mistakes or the home inspection mistakes to avoid ad or set price or for sale by owner. 27 tips. I'd recommend that you go to the marketing library and you think about, well, which campaigns are going to do a really good job of targeting the type of buyer and seller that I should be targeting. Okay, again, my recommendation is you have a good look at your personal finances, your present situation, and you do the research on MLS and you look for opportunities. And by personal situation, I'm talking about both your finances and I'm talking about your experience and your credibility that you're going to have with each of these target markets. Okay, for example, if you're a brand new real estate agent, you're targeting first-time buyers. Okay, you may not have a lot of experience, but guess what? Neither does the client. Okay, first-time buyers really don't know what to expect. They've never done this before. However, if you lack experience, it's probably not a great idea to target veteran home buyer and sellers. These are people that have already bought and sold real estate many, many times before. Okay, so that's another good reason for those of you that are rookies in this business to target first-time buyers. All right, the other thing I want to talk about is doing research on MLS. All right, I did a consultation recently with one of our coaching members who wanted to target high-end condominiums. Okay, he wants to work with sellers of high-end condominiums. And the reason he wanted to do this is because he likes condos. He lives in one himself. So this was his geographical farm area, the farm area that he lived in. And like I discussed a few minutes ago, this is a big mistake that a lot of us make. But here's what happened. Once we did the MLS research, what he determined is there wasn't enough turnover. There weren't enough condos selling, even if he got 100% of the market share, which is unlikely, for him to make a good living. All right, so let's not forget to do this research on MLS. Remember, any of us can do this. So before you subjectively decide who you're going to target and who you're not going to target, simply research the MLS. The MLS will tell you where the opportunity is in your marketplace. So for example, if I want to target first-time home buyers in my town, in Newmarket, I could search MLS and I would look for homes that sold last month. I'd search for the homes that sold last month, and I'd identify how many of these homes that sold were first-time buyer homes. So first-time buyer homes in my marketplace might be any home that sold for, let's say, $450,000 or less. How many homes that sold were $450,000 and less? Now, if that's a big chunk of the marketplace, what that tells me is, hey, first-time buyers would be a great target market. Now, obviously with MLS, we can't research buyers, but we can research sales. Okay, we can research the homes that have sold. Obviously, if there's a bunch of homes that have sold for $450,000 and less, what we can then conclude, obviously, is there had to be buyers for those homes. So do we want to target the sellers of those homes, or do we want to target the buyers that are buying those homes? what you do is you go to the marketing library, you pick the ad, and then you test different mediums, different methods of delivering that message to the target market. If you pay attention to the results, you're going to understand within a couple weeks which of the ads work the best, which of the mediums work the best. And once you determine what works the best, guess what? Then you can continue to do more of that and eliminate anything that's not working well. What you're going to find is within a couple weeks, you're going to have your marketing on autopilot. You know, that's why we call this automatic marketing. It truly is automatic marketing. You're going to test the different ads, the different campaigns. You're going to determine which ads and which methods of delivering those ads to your intended market work the best, and it's basically rinse and repeat. So I want you to give this some careful consideration. Much like I said earlier, when it comes to opening a McDonald's restaurant, they don't just throw a dart at the map and say, hey, we're going to open a restaurant here. McDonald's does a ton of research on population and trends and traffic before they decide they're going to invest in opening a brand new restaurant. Well, you and I have similar type information right on your MLS. You just need to be smart enough to use it. So there's two things I want you to do. Number one, I want you to take an honest look at your needs, your own financial situation, okay, your own personal situation. And number two, I want you to research MLS. And when you do that, you're going to understand who you should be targeting. Okay, now once you understand who you should be targeting, you're going to go to the marketing library within the coaching site, and you're going to select some ads that you're going to test. I want you to pick messages that would appeal to that piece of the market that you want to target. Now, the only other question is, what is going to be the best way to deliver that marketing message or deliver that ad to your intended piece of the market? So what are you going to do? You're going to test different mediums. I want you to test Craigslist. I want you to test running the ads in the classified section in some of your local papers. I want you to run the ads not in the classified section, but randomly peppered throughout the local paper. We call these display ads. Okay, so you can run the ads in the classified section under homes for sale, and then outside of the classified section. Those are your least expensive methods to get started with this system, to deliver the message to your intended piece of the market. All right, next let's talk about determining what it is that your prospects want. What motivates this target group of prospects that you're after? Okay, what factors are most important to them? If they're sellers, do they want a quick sale? Do they want top dollar? Are they after the best value, the most attentive service? Do they want the least hassle? How would you find out what your prospects really want? Well, it's actually pretty simple. You ask them. Failing to understand and address what your prospects really want is one of the biggest marketing mistakes that realtors make. Rather than assuming or guessing the answer, you should be asking your prospects directly by researching their needs. And that's why I survey every buyer and seller I work with. And we're going to talk to you later in the coaching program about how to survey them. Okay, stop guessing. Survey them. Use science, use logic, and really determine what's important to them so you can do a great job of addressing their needs. Okay, next let's talk about being specific. We need to be really specific when it comes to target market. For example, targeting buyers breaks into subsets. Okay, targeting buyers breaks into subsets. There's first-time buyers, there's move-up buyers, there's luxury home buyers, there's people that only want to buy rural properties, there's people that only want to buy condominiums. So I want you to look specifically at who you're going to target. And once you've made that decision, then you must determine what it is that your target market really wants. Does that make sense? Let's determine who we ought to be working with, who we should be targeting, and then determine what it is that our target market really wants. And then we're going to give them what they want in a unique way that clearly sets you and I apart. We're going to offer prospects what they want in a unique way so they see us as different and better than our competitors. Now let's take a step back and have a look at your situation. If somebody asks you, hey, what makes you different from all the other real estate agents in town? In other words, why should I choose to buy or sell a home with you versus all the other real estate agents in town? What would you say to them? And it can't be things like, I'm honest, or I work hard, or I really want your business, because of course everyone is saying those things. You need to have a really compelling answer to this very important question. And you need to be able to articulate your answer in 60 seconds or less. What is it that makes you different and better than your competition? If I was selling my house, why would I want to do business with you versus everybody else? Most realtors run around spouting off the same old things. We're going to work hard for you. We're going to do a good job for you. I'm honest. But again, none of this sets you apart because everyone's saying the same old things. Also, I find a lot of real estate agents have a unique selling proposition that they communicate quite effectively during their one-on-one situations, like at a listing presentation. At a listing presentation, many realtors know exactly what to say to set themselves apart from the other real estate agents. However, they don't communicate their USP effectively to the masses in their marketing efforts. Let's say that I met with a seller today, and I know exactly what to say to that seller to set myself apart. And over again, when I meet with sellers to compel them to want to do business with me, I know exactly what to say. Okay, the words that come out of my mouth work. Well, think about this. If you could bottle that message and you could market that through to the masses through advertising, you'd have a great, unique selling proposition. Okay, so how many of you can relate to that? What you say when you're face-to-face with prospects works. Well, why don't you just bottle that? Whatever works in your one-on-one communications should be promoted and advertised to the masses through your advertising. So that would be a pretty good idea, right? To let the rest of the world know about what you do that makes you different and better. Okay, so what is it that you're doing to set yourself apart from all the other realtors? That's the big question, and that's what I want to talk about. It's your USP, your unique selling proposition that tells the world who you are and what you do. Your unique selling proposition clearly and concisely tells prospects what benefit or benefits they're going to derive from doing business with you instead of one of your competitors. Now, most realtors have not given this much thought. So here's some important questions that you might want to ask yourself. What distinguishes your business from your competitors? Do your listings sell faster than average? Do they sell for more money than your competitors? Do your buyers save money when they deal with you, or do they save time? Do you have a better system to attract customers? Are you more aggressive in your marketing programs and strategies? Do you provide better service? Do you give better guarantees? Do you make it easier for people to do business with you? What is it exactly that makes you different? As you progress through the coaching program, and this might already be the case, you probably look around at what your competitors are doing to promote themselves, and you realize, or you say to yourself, they just don't get it. Because it's true, the average realtor doesn't get it. They don't have a clue about how to differentiate themselves. Everybody's saying the same old bland things, or they're saying nothing at all. Most real estate agents are wasting their money on ineffective ads that produce little or no results. So if we want to be successful, we can't do what everyone else is doing. We need to understand that this self-image advertising that every agent and every company seems to be wasting money on is not something that you can be doing if you want to be successful. And in fact, if you're still engaged in any type of image advertising, if you're still running those kinds of ads, I'm going to urge you right now to stop. Stop wasting your money on ineffective self-image advertising. Instead, let's talk about how to create a compelling, unique selling proposition. And as I get into this topic, I want to just explain to you that I'm not going to suggest that anyone run out after our webinar is over spending a whole bunch of money promoting their USP. Okay, that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm not suggesting that you should run out there and start spending a lot of money promoting your USP. Not yet. Some of you, perhaps are in a financial position where you can do this, but everyone on the call can start to promote your unique selling proposition with the words that come out of your mouth. You see, the words that come out of your mouth don't cost you anything. The misconception is that when I'm talking about setting yourself apart by promoting your USP, automatically everybody assumes I'm talking about running ads. That's what people assume. Craig is saying, well, I need to start spending a lot of money running full-page ads and renting billboards and running television commercials. And although some of you are going to gravitate to that, that's not where you should start. So please understand that generating leads by promoting your unique selling proposition is definitely more expensive, or can be more expensive, than running other types of lead generators. And I've discussed the fact that your less branded advertising is always going to generate you more leads at a much lower cost than branded advertising. Okay, less branded advertising is the most effective and least expensive way to generate leads, bar none. Because prospects want information, but not necessarily do they want to go to a real estate agent to get that information, you'll always find that your less branded advertising generates you more leads at a lower cost than branded advertising. So as soon as you start to promote yourself and your unique selling proposition, understand you're going to generate less leads. You might say, well, why would I want to do that? Well, here's the argument. The argument for advertising your USP is even though you're going to generate less leads, the leads that you generate are going to be predisposed to working with you because they already know that this information is coming from you, but they also already know what makes you different and better than your competition. Is everybody understanding this? So when you promote your USP, words do matter. I want you to consider the words that come out of your mouth when you're on the telephone with a prospect or when you're at a listing presentation. These words must create the perception amongst your prospects that you are different and better than the competition. And you're going to test different statements, different benefits. You're going to test different things that come out of your mouth, and what you're going to determine is some of them work better than others. So as you start to promote your USP, you're going to be changing the way that prospects in your marketplace think about you. And you'll compel the best prospects to contact you. Most of you on the webinar are not at the point of being able to do what I did when it comes to this kind of ongoing investment. However, for those of you right now that are wasting money on image-style advertising, immediately stop. Stop running those types of ads and switch to promoting your USP. All right, to reiterate, the difference between promoting your USP and image advertising is this. Image advertising basically says, call me, I'm great. List your home with me. Or I've got all these designations. But there's no benefit with that. And here's the difference. You see, with USP advertising, not only are you creating an awareness of who you are, attached to your identity, is a very specific and tangible benefit. So people don't only know who you are, but they also clearly understand what makes you different and better than your competition. Okay, now for those of you that are struggling for cash right now, how do you do this? Start by promoting your USP verbally. If you don't have the money to spend on newspaper advertising or online advertising, you can begin by promoting your USP with the words that come out of your mouth. When you're talking to prospects on the phone or during your face-to-face communications at a listing appointment or a buyer appointment, begin to test your different USPs. And what you're going to find is some of the words that come out of your mouth work far better than others. Those are the words you're going to continue to use until you find better words. Let's make the assumption that whatever you discover works the best during your one-on-one communications, does it make sense that is likely going to work the best when you start to multiply that message to the masses with your marketing? So if you meet with a seller and you find that a certain message, a certain unique selling proposition works better than all others, there's a very good chance that if you promoted that USP in the newspaper or online, that you'd have a very effective offer. Okay, remember, the most important question that anyone is ever going to ask you, as long as you're a real estate agent, is why should I do business with you versus all other options, including doing nothing or whatever I'm doing now? This is what every prospect you meet with or speak to on the phone is consciously or subconsciously asking themselves. Why should I do business with you above all other options, including doing nothing or whatever I'm doing now? So your unique selling proposition is going to be the essence of your entire business concept. It's the unique advantage that distinguishes your real estate business from all your competitors. Okay, so creating your USP. You might want to write these down. Number one, you need to determine what your customers want. Okay, you have to determine what they want. How can you give it to them if you don't know what they want? Number two, find out which of these needs you can fulfill. And number three, find a way to clearly state to your customers that you're the source to fulfill those needs. Now, I want to share with you 3 different types of USP platforms. Okay, so let me explain to you the difference of these 3 different types of USPs. Now, you may want to use one of these USP platforms. You're probably going to want to use all 3 of them. Let's begin by discussing unique service USPs. Okay, unique service USPs. In my marketplace, I offered unique services or programs. Okay, unique services or programs that other agents didn't offer. This made me stand out. It made me different in the mind of the buyers and sellers because I'm offering something that my competitors were not offering. When you work with a buyer or seller, here's my advice. Don't do the same old things that everyone else is doing. You want to come up with unique programs, unique services that they don't offer. So let me give you some examples. When I would meet with a seller, I would talk about my Sunday tour of homes. This is a unique program that I offer that other agents don't. And I'll explain to you the benefits of the Sunday tour of home in more detail, but I would compare my Sunday tour of homes versus what everyone else was offering, a traditional open house. I talked a little bit about this at the Super Conference. The Sunday tour of homes was an amazing listing tool. I also explained to sellers that I was going to promote their home 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, using my special websites and my special recorded hotlines. And then I would go on to explain the benefits of doing this, that 3 times as many prospects, as many buyers will request information on their home when they know they don't have to speak to a real estate agent. And their home will be promoted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's not how other realtors do it, right? Other agents tell buyers, contact me. I don't do it that way. Why don't I do it that way? Well, I explain this to the seller. I'll get 3 times as many inquiries. Your home will be promoted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the only prospects that we're going to bring through your home are people that already have the information. They've been somewhat qualified or pre-qualified because at least they have some information on your property. What does every other realtor do? They try to drag anybody and everybody through your property. Okay, so I'm using robots to automatically sift and sort the prospects and really do a good job of pre-qualifying the prospects so I know the best buyers to bring through the seller's home. Now, for buyers, I have unique services for them as well. I would tell buyers about a unique buyer profile service. It's a unique service that I offer buyers that my competitors do not, where I offer to send buyers advance notification on any hot new listing that match the home buying criteria, including bank foreclosures, company-owned properties, and distress sales. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Craig, every real estate agent would be willing to email listings to buyers. Yes, that's true, but my program is different. And it's up to all of you to be able to differentiate what you do versus what everyone else does. Have you ever thought about this? Do you realize that what we sell, the houses, will never set you and I apart? It's true, isn't it? In real estate, we all sell the same thing, homes on MLS. Okay, we all sell houses, and they're all in the multiple listing service. And that's a problem, right? To a lot of realtors, they look at that, they go, oh, that's a problem, because they figure, okay, well, I guess we're all the same. What you and I sell is the same. Face it, it's the same. So please understand that what you and I sell will never set us apart. Okay, what you sell will never set you apart. It's how you sell it. It's how you do what you do that will set you apart, not what you sell. So please write this down.
Craig, another interesting point, just to jump in here, talking about the daily emails and the priority access as well as proprietary information that you're offering to buyers, is that these USPs actually overlap and are applicable to both buyers and to sellers in a lot of cases. One of the things that we're going to suggest you do to attract sellers is that you build up an inventory of buyers who are getting your daily emails because they actually become a USP for your sellers.
Absolutely. That's a good point. And let me explain. We call that the buyers in waiting program. So, James, if you were the seller and I'm at your home and let's say you were interviewing two other realtors, I would show James a printout of the over 300 buyers that I'm currently sending information to on a daily basis. And I would say, James, if you decide to list your home with me, I already have buyers in waiting. They're getting priority email notification of all the new listings that match their criteria. And I would show James the list. I would hand it to him, and I'd watch him looking through this list. And you can imagine this seller leafing through pages and pages of buyers. And, you know, we really do have these buyers that really are looking for specific properties. And the list has the buyers' names, which one of my buyer agents they're working with, how many homes they received last week, 2 weeks ago, and in total. So these buyers that we're working with actually, can you see how they actually become a tool for us to attract sellers? And it works the other way around too. So because I have unique programs in place to generate more buyers, then the fact that I have more buyers also benefits the sellers. So James, you made a very good point. And I would say this to the seller. I would say, James, if you decide to list your home with me tonight, the very first thing that I would do is I would email information on your home out to all the buyers in my database that are looking for a home like yours. And James, you know, it sounds kind of crazy, but it's almost like I've been looking for a buyer for your home before we even met tonight. Now, we may get a match right away. In fact, we may find multiple buyers for your home. Does that work well? You bet it does. Why? Because we know sellers want to list their home with the agent whom they perceive has all the buyers. You know, if I was selling my home, I realize I can just list my home with anybody, but I'd rather not list my home. I don't want to just list my home. I'd prefer to list my home with the realtor who I perceive already has the buyers. Well, that's your job, is to create that perception. So virtually everything you're doing in your marketing to generate buyers or sellers is a unique selling proposition. It's a service that you're providing to your buyers and your sellers. And every bit of this you can use in your presentation. And that's exactly what we're going to show you how to do.
You know, Craig, in marketing, there's an old saying, looking at it here, the more you tell, the more you sell. So if I'm trying to list your home, I'm going to bring a printout of my leads from my Success website control panel. I'm going to bring a printout from the AMS hotline. I'm going to demonstrate my marketing savvy. Here are the buyers that I've generated in the last month. Did any of the other agents you interviewed show you how many buyers they're currently working with? And of course, the answer is no. What they try to do is get them to like them, or they talk about their house, but in no way do they talk about the strategy that they're going to use, because it's very likely that, well, they don't have one.
Yep, good point. Hey, let's move on to the second USP platform. Okay, performance guarantee USPs.
Hey, Craig, before we do, you know, there's a great analogy that you use all the time, and I don't know whether you were going to, but it goes like this, essentially, in regards to your presentation, and you talked about an arsenal or weaponry, and it's kind of like, you know, you start by pulling out a handgun in your presentation, and then you pull out the bazooka, and before you know it, you're rolling the tanks in, and that's really what you can do, isn't it, with when you're armed with these USPs?
Yeah. I guess, James, what you're referring to is in my briefcase, I have many places that I could go during a listing presentation.
Exactly.
Okay, I don't have to use all of the tools, but I'm going to use them in progression. So I may be able to start out with just using a few of the tools, but I know with confidence that I can progress as needed to some of, I guess we could call it my heavy-duty artillery.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if my unique programs weren't enough to convince James to list his home, I could move up the ladder to USP platform number 2, okay, which are my performance guarantees. You know, I could say to James, well, James, another thing that I do to set myself apart from all the other agents is the fact that I'm accountable to you. I know you've interviewed a couple of other agents, you know, and I'm sure they were great, and I'm sure they told you how much they really wanted your business, and I'm sure they told you they were going to work really, really hard. But I do all those things too. But James, I will also guarantee that if I haven't sold your home in X amount of days, and you can decide what that is, what the X is, whether it's 90 days or whatever, but if I haven't sold your home in 90 days or less, I'll sell it for free. That's how confident I am that I can sell your home at this price. Or I might say this, James, if I haven't sold your home in 90 days, I'll actually pay you $1,000 cash on closing.
Or how about, Craig, if you decide to purchase a home or allow me to represent you in that purchase, and if at any time during the next 12 months you decide you don't like that property for any reason, I'll sell it for free. How's that for a buyer's side guarantee?
Yeah, we have lots of great ones for buyers as well. How about this? James, I know you've interviewed a couple of agents to represent you on the buy end, on the buy side. But James, if you commit to working with me, I guarantee to save you at least $10,000 off the list price of any home that you purchase using my services, or I'll pay you $1,000 cash on closing. Okay, these are examples of performance guarantees. And of course, the biggie that we've talked about at the Super Conference that's made me more money than any of the others is the Guaranteed Sale Program. Now, that's also the program that freaks most of you out because you immediately assume that you're going to get stuck buying a bunch of homes.
Well, it's a straight-up program.
It really is. You know, the most immediate thing that you assume is that if you offer the Guaranteed Sale Program, you're going to get stuck buying a bunch of homes. And if you understand the rules, you'll understand that this is absolutely not going to happen as long as you follow the rules that you've set for yourself. Okay, if you understand the program, you have very little risk of this happening. And I'm going to conduct entire webinars on the Guaranteed Sale Program because I want you to understand the program before you immediately eliminate it. I want to help you design your rules and your guidelines. Remember, this is your program, and you can design the rules and conditions. This is a program that can make you a lot of money, especially in today's market. The prospects that are most likely going to respond to the Guaranteed Sale Program are the most motivated sellers. Would you agree with that? The most motivated sellers in the marketplace are going to respond to an ad that says, we'll sell your home, guaranteed, or we'll buy it. The most motivated sellers are the sellers that you want to attract, the people that absolutely must sell now. Now, of course, we're not buying their home or guaranteeing their home at market value. You all understand that, right? There's a buffer. I mean, just like when you buy car insurance. James, you recently bought a car. Now, if you wreck that car, okay, if you smash the car up, the insurance company is probably not going to say, okay, James, we're going to give you 100% of what you paid for the car. They're not going to do that. They're going to build in some kind of discount. And the reason that we all buy car insurance is just in case something happens. Well, consider the Guaranteed Sale Program as a special insurance program that you're offering to your sellers that nobody else is. Now, we can't offer the seller 100% of market value, but clearly what we're offering the seller is far better than what your competitors are offering them, which is nothing. So we can afford to be conservative. You can tell the home seller that owns, let's say the seller owns a home worth $400,000. If you guarantee $360,000, so 10% off of market value, and then you take off your commission because you're not going to pay yourself, so your net offer to the seller would be $339,000. Wouldn't everyone agree that that would be a pretty easy number to beat? If the house is truly worth $400,000, and remember, it's you and I that set the price. That's another condition of the Guaranteed Sale Program is you set the price. You are now going to deduct your guaranteed sale fee, whether that's 5% or 10%, you decide. Then you're not going to pay yourself a commission, so you deduct the commission. Now, keep in mind there's also other rules to the Guaranteed Sale Program. Okay, it gets better than this because, firstly, they have to move up and buy one of your listings. So let's take somebody that owns a $200,000 home, and they move up and they buy one of your $400,000 listings. Now, these numbers might not be relevant to you, but it's just easy math. So take somebody that owns a $200,000 home, and they're moving up, and they're going to buy your $400,000 listing. That means you're going to make about $25,000 in commissions right there on the move up. That $25,000 you're going to get on closing. That could be your down payment. If needed, that could represent your down payment. Now, that would only happen if the $200,000 home didn't sell in 120 days for at least 170. Because that would be my guarantee. On a $200,000 home, I'm going to guarantee $170,000. Now, look, I don't expect many of you to run out and start offering the Guaranteed Sale Program immediately, but eventually you're probably going to be attracted to this program because you're going to be hearing from so many of your fellow coaching members that are using it successfully, especially those members that have come through the coaching program before you, people that have been involved in the program for a number of years. Here's the thing. Once you totally understand how it works, that's going to give you the understanding part of the equation. But you also need to gain the confidence to move forward. And you're going to gain that confidence by the information we share with you and by speaking to dozens of our members who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars offering the Guaranteed Sale Program. That's going to give you what I call supreme confidence. And here's what I believe. Really, two things are necessary for you to implement the Guaranteed Sale Program. Number one, you need to know what you're doing. You need to have a good understanding of how it works. And number two, you need to have what I call supreme confidence. You need to have the confidence to act. So performance guarantees are the second platform or the second type of USP that you and I should be offering in our business. Okay, now this brings us to the third and final type of USP. These are called statistical USPs. This is something that all of you can do right now. It doesn't matter whether you're brand new in real estate. I mean, let's take somebody who's brand new in real estate. You sold maybe one home this year. You sold one listing. Maybe that one listing sold for 2% more than the real estate board average. Maybe that one listing you sold for half the market time. Well, those would be good things to talk about in your advertising or at least in your one-on-one communications with buyers and sellers. So an easy way to set yourself apart is to take your numbers, your statistics, and compare it against MLS. Let's face it, the MLS averages are pretty pathetic. The results that the average realtor gets are pathetic. Now, when you do this research, you're not likely going to shine in all the different areas, but you're only going to talk about the stats that make you look good. So, for example, if your list-to-sales ratio was inferior to MLS, obviously you're not going to talk about that. You might want to talk about your days on the market. Or what about your success ratio? Does everyone know what that means? Your success ratio is the percentage, what percentage of the listings that you take on sell and close. So when I met with a seller, I was able to say, you know, Mr. Seller, do you know that I sold 87% of the homes that I've listed this year? That's something that I would talk about when I met with a seller because that's an impressive statistic when you compare it to the fact that on MLS, less than 50% of the homes that are listed sell and close. Now, we can do the same thing with buyers. How would we use statistics when we're trying to attract buyers? Let's say that when you do the research, you determine that when you represent a buyer, your buyers only pay 95% of the asking price. Okay, compared to MLS, when you do the research, you realize everyone else's buyers on average are paying 97% of the asking price. Can you see how you could demonstrate to a buyer that on average, you're able to save your buyers 2% versus what other agents are negotiating for their buyers? Okay, now, the last thing I want to do before we take your questions is I want to talk about the importance of backing up all of your claims, backing up everything that you promote with some testimonials. When I'm promoting my guaranteed sale program, when I run an ad that says, your home sold in X amount of time or I'll buy it, can anyone on our webinar here guess what the biggest problem I have to overcome? It's skepticism. The number one trend in the country today is skepticism. So that's the biggest problem I have when I'm promoting the guaranteed sale program. It's skepticism. You know, people think, well, that sounds too good to be true, or, you know, what's the catch? So you and I know that in advance that we're dealing with a very skeptical consumer. So we have to be prepared for it. We need to use testimonials to back up every claim that we make. When you start to promote your unique programs, your performance guarantees, or your statistical advantages, make sure that you back up every claim that you make with testimonials wherever possible. Now, for those of you that are fairly new in the business, you don't have many clients, I understand that you may not have testimonials. But eventually, as you know, you're involved in this system now, when you do transactions with buyers and sellers, you want to make sure that you get a testimonial wherever possible. Most real estate agents do not do this. Okay, so rule number one is get testimonials. Have a system in place to automatically get testimonials every time you work with a buyer or seller. Now, one more thing I want to mention. Make sure they're good testimonials, not what I call useless or wimpy testimonials. Let me give you an example. What does a wimpy testimonial look like? How about this? Craig was really nice to us. Or, you know, we'd really like to thank Craig for selling our home. It was a great experience. Those are wimpy, useless testimonials.
You know, Craig, really what you're talking about is that the testimonial has to encompass one or more of the three platforms that you've been talking about, one of the three platforms of USPs, either a statistical advantage, a unique service, or program that you offered and was successful, or a performance guarantee. Let me give you an example. How about this one? Because of Craig's guaranteed sale program, we were able to buy the home of our dreams. Or Craig sold our home for 98.8% of our asking price in just 9 days. Really what it is you're offering a USP, but instead of it coming out of your mouth, it's coming out of the mouth of a third party. Obviously means a whole lot more. A good testimonial is a third party promoting your USP.
Exactly. So if I'm promoting my list to sales ratio or my days on the market, I would want to use testimonials from people that say, Craig sold, something like Craig sold my home in 98% of the asking price and he sold it in a week. Or I was listed with 3 other agents for over a year and I switched to Craig Proctor and he sold it for 100% of the asking price in 48 hours. Those are the kind of testimonials you want to use. Testimonials that support the claims that you're making. Now, most real estate agents, they don't even make claims. So make a strong claim and then back your claim up. Support the claim with testimonials that have taken advantage of your USPs. They've taken advantage of these programs that you offer. Now you've got a killer marketing campaign, and people are much more likely to believe what other people have to say about you versus what you say about yourself. It's just the way it is. So if you believe that skepticism is a big problem in our society today, if you understand and accept the fact that the number one thing that you're up against is skepticism, and that the public's perception is that all real estate agents are exactly the same, if you understand that, if you now know exactly what to do to solve that problem. And you understand now how to set yourself apart from the crowd. So let's do this. Let's take some of your questions, and let's try to keep the questions pertaining to what we've discussed on our webinar here today on how you should be selecting your target market and your unique selling proposition. Andrea, over to you.
Yes, sir. You can ask your questions in 2 ways. One by audio if you're on the phone or if you have a computer mic, or you can type your question in the chat box, which we already have several parties who have done so. Our first comes from Ricardo Valega. What will be the specific search criteria to input on the MLS in order to determine a hot buyer's market?
Okay, well, you're going to start off with the area that you work. So in my marketplace, I would start off with Newmarket or Aurora. Okay, and what I want to look at is I want to look at where all the sales are. And I'm trying to find, what we're trying to find is we're trying to find trends. We're looking for turnover. I want you to think of yourself as the owner of a store. If you owned a retail store, you wouldn't purposely stock your shelves with items that aren't selling. You'd want to try to find items that have good turnover. Because if we find areas of town, we call this a geographical target, areas of town that have high turnover or certain price ranges that have high turnover, what do we know? We know those listings are selling, but obviously someone's buying them as well. So if you spend some time on MLS, you should be able to discover where the majority of sales are happening. And you will find it, regardless of what marketplace you're in, the majority of sales are in a certain geographical area or in a certain price range. To me, that makes sense. Like that would be a good target market.
Okay, we have an audio question from Doug Rosener. Your mic is open. Okay.
Remember, you have to unmute your mic, folks, if you want to use it.
That's correct. We'll go on to Philip Donyan. His chat question is, I am starting an internet campaign for buyers, and I want to include the following. Your home sold in 59 days guaranteed, or I'll pay you $1,000. What are your thoughts?
I say test it. You see, that's really the ultimate answer is I quite often get this question asked of me, and James, I know you do as well, where our members will say, well, what do you think is going to work better, this USP or that USP? I think you just test several USPs out And what you're going to find is one works far better than the other. Once you determine what the best USP is, then you stick with it. But there's no right or wrong answer here. Do the research. Test different USPs that make sense to you. You've got to have the courage and understanding to be able to pull this off. Test them out. The marketplace will always tell you what the best approach is, and then just keep doing more of the same.
Our next question comes from Jim Anderson. What do we do about classified sections where they only allow 3 to 8 lines? Do we have ad examples that you recommend instead?
They only allow 3 lines?
3 to 8.
Well, that's all you need. If you look at my classified ads, there's none of them that are over 8 lines. Most of them are 3 or 4 lines.
Okay, we'll go on. We have another audio question from Claire Singh. Your mic is open. Claire?
Oh, hi. Yes, I was just wondering, this is Claire here. I was just wondering of some examples of the type of testimonials you'd like to receive from first-time home buyers. They tend to say, you give them good service or you were very helpful, but what are the best type of testimonials you're looking from those, from that market?
Okay, well, for me, I'm always trying to get testimonials that back up the unique services or USPs that I'm offering. So if you're not offering any USPs, any programs right now, that's difficult to do. But you could start off by getting them to talk about the fact that you found a home quickly for them, or you negotiated affordability. Yeah, you negotiated, did a great job of negotiating the price, and you got them X amount off the asking price. About how easy it was to use your services, how convenient it was. But, rather than them just saying, that you're really nice and it was a great experience, that's what I'm referring to as a wimpy testimonial.
Right.
How about this? And I don't know if this is true, I'm making this up, but if they said, we had spoken to many real estate agents, and when we met Claire, we were immediately impressed. Claire was able to find us the home of our dreams in 14 days, and she negotiated $12,000 off the asking price and made the entire process, it was our first home, and made the entire process, very, very, whatever the word is, and we'd highly recommend Claire to anyone considering buying a first home.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Here's what you might want to do. Okay, Claire, what we're going to talk about on one of our upcoming calls is we're going to talk about sending a survey to your clients.
Okay.
Now, the survey that you would send is going to ask the buyers and sellers certain questions. Based on how they answer those questions, when you get the survey back, if they seem like they're pretty happy, that's going to tell you, hey, here's somebody I should try to get a testimonial from. That will help you when you follow up with them to get the testimonial. The way we got our testimonials is when we got the surveys back. If I got a survey back from you, Claire, and it seemed like you were really happy with this, I would say, Claire, based on our survey, it sounds like you had a pretty good experience, and you found your dream home through our Sunday tour of homes. Would you be open to giving us a testimonial that you found our Sunday tour of homes was a great way for you to shop for a home, and it was convenient, and you found the home of your dreams in 2 weekends through our Sunday tour of homes? Would that be okay? Because that testimonial I could use not only for buyers, but I could use that in support of my Sunday tour of homes. So whenever I'm promoting the Sunday tour of homes, I've now got a great testimonial that backs up that way of doing an open house.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Craig.
All right. Thank you.
Our next question comes from Martha Stray. Please provide the process you use to capture good testimonials.
Well, I just discussed it. You're going to send out a survey to each one of your buyers and sellers. You can actually find that survey on the coaching site. Now, I want everyone to understand you probably just can't use mine exactly the way it is, because my survey is going to say things like, did you benefit from our team approach? Did you benefit from the guaranteed sale program? So you're going to model after my survey. But does that make sense? When the surveys came back to me and they were very positive, then we knew exactly who to approach for testimonials. And by the way they answered the questions that we asked them in the survey, it gave us a hint to what we should be getting the testimonials to say. All right, let's go back to Andrea and take the next question.
Okay, our next question comes from Anita. Can you tell me what USP could be used when you meet with sellers who have to do a short sale?
I don't think attracting short sales requires different marketing at all. Okay, the fact that they don't have any equity, I mean, what you do with them once you meet with them is completely different. But you could run a headline, a USP that says guaranteed cash offer for your home in 24 hours. Now, they're not going to qualify for the guaranteed sale program because they need to, hey, you're going to offer 10% under market value. These folks need 10% over market value or more. So we have to understand the difference between marketing to get people and what we can do with them once we meet with them. With a short sale seller, any of the marketing that we offer will work to attract a short sale just like it'll attract any other type of seller. What you do with the short sale seller once you meet with them is different. The marketing you use will be the same. Hope that makes sense.
Our next question comes from Debbie. With offering, for example, 60 days or I'll give you $3,000, have you ever had calls from your board or other realtors giving you a hard time with offering a dollar value in your ads?
I haven't, but I know some of our members are in areas where the real estate board considers that an inducement. Okay, we have had that before, and our coaching member will call me in a flap and they'll say, look, I just got this letter from, the real estate association. They're saying that I can't run a campaign that says, your home sold in 60 days or I'll pay you $1,000 cash. So here's what we did. What we do is we change the headline to say, your home sold guaranteed in 60 days, or I'll deduct $1,000 from my commission. Because commissions are negotiable, right? That is legal. So sometimes all we need to do is make a slight modification to the headline because it's exactly the same, right? Your home sold in 60 days guaranteed, or I'll pay you $1,000. Well, that $1,000 is just going to be a reduction on the commission. So you're not paying anything unless the property eventually does sell. That $1,000 is applied on closing as a deduction to the commission. So all we had to do was change the headline to say your home sold in 60 days guaranteed, or I'll deduct $1,000 from my commission. Same program, but now, we had no problem running that because the real estate board can't say anything about you reducing your commission. Okay, that statement complied.
Our next question comes from Jackie Cartwright. What ad do we write to attract first-time homebuyers who need financing in a low inventory type market competing with cash buyers? How do we find properties with no money down for them?
Okay, the no money down thing is something I use in Canada, and you used to be able to do it in the U.S. Our lending restrictions here were a little tighter. You may know that. We didn't have the big real estate bubble that there was in the U.S. So I understand that many of you can't offer 0 down or 100% financing. Some of you still can. So, if you can't, you could change your ad to say super low down payment home loans. It doesn't make sense to attract people that you can't help. So you want to test the ads out. And if you're running ads that suggest super low down payments or no money down, and you're attracting people that you can't get qualified, well, then that doesn't make sense to continue doing that. I just know in my marketplace, it was a good ad to run because within a 5-mile radius of my office, there were dozens, maybe hundreds of people that were renting that really could afford to buy. They had good credit. They had good combined income. They just didn't have down payments. They didn't have very big down payments. They must have had a great lifestyle. Some of these people were in their 40s. They'd never owned a home. They were renting, and they were making $150,000, $200,000, husband and wife, $200,000 a year, and they're renting. So those ads were designed to get them to raise their hands, people like that to raise their hands, because clearly the opportunity for all of us is to try to find people that are renting who are only renting because they don't believe they can afford to buy, and they really can. So I'm trying to find people that are renting that really can afford to buy, and I'm trying to get them to raise their hands. Hope that makes sense.
Okay, our next question from Stephen Black. He says, you mentioned a statistical program for MLS research called QL Stats. Where can he find that? How can he get it?
Okay, well, you go to, I believe it's QLstats.com, QLsystemstats.com. Okay, this is for coaching members. If you go to QLsystemstats.com, can we go there, Adrian? Thank you. I have negotiated a pretty good deal with a third-party auditing company called IMS. Okay, that's their website, realestatestatistics.com. Now, what they can do is they can give you access to great information. It interfaces with your MLS, and it'll help you determine your target market. It's really, really inexpensive.
Our next question comes from Dorian. I am one of those who is doing very well. I want to start focusing on sellers. Would you suggest that I put some effort into getting buyers so they can create a larger and more impressive buyer list for when I go see the sellers?
Having buyers, a lot of buyers that you're currently working with, is really a great USP when you're presenting to sellers, because, as I mentioned, sellers want agents that have buyers. They don't want to just list their home with anybody. If you can tell that story and leave the seller with the perception that, wow, this is the agent that has all the buyers, you've got a much better chance of getting their business. And now that all of you are members of the program, you can go to your website control panel and your hotline control panel, and you can pull off a list of all the buyer leads that you've generated. And you should be using this list of buyers in your listing presentations when you meet with sellers to convince them that you're the person for the job.
Okay, would you like to go on to the next question?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. It's from Fran. In the library under Ad Generator, how do you remove Craig Proctor identifier info from the reports?
Okay, Adrian, that's a question for you. Can you repeat it again? Adrian, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
I can read it again, yes. In the library under Ad Generator, how do you remove the Craig Proctor identifier info from the reports?
Because they're PDFs, you should be able to open them with Adobe, I think it's Reader Professional, and just like text, be able to remove that copyright in the bottom. If you aren't able to do that, what the alternative is, when you print it, you can also put over a white piece of paper and photocopy it like that as well. But you should be able to remove it right from your PDF viewer using Adobe Professional.
Okay, the second part of Fran's question. It seems the hotline scripts are long. How does this affect the results, as it seems to go against irritating the caller?
They're purposely long as a qualifier. We tested shorter ones versus longer ones. I want everyone to understand this. The hotline script has two jobs, right? The hotline has two jobs. Number one, we want to answer all the inquiries automatically, so buyers and sellers don't have to bother us, and you'll get 3 times as many buyers and sellers that are willing to go to your hotline or visit your website. But do we want every single buyer or seller to leave us a message? If we want them to do that, then you've got to call them all back. You've got to call the desirables and the undesirables. The scripts are designed to sift out the insincere, the less qualified, the people that already have a real estate agent. So you're absolutely right. Is every buyer or seller going to listen to that entire script? Nope. Who will? The best ones. Okay, the best ones. The best prospects are the ones that are going to go to your ad, call the 800 number, enter the 4-digit ID number, and listen to a 2 or 3 minute script and leave their message. Those are the ones we care about. Now, there's a balance to this. Obviously, if the script is eliminating everyone that calls, then that would be no good. Then, yeah, we want to play with the script. But let me ask you this. If you weren't using a hotline and you were taking all of these property inquiries yourself and your experience of taking all these ad calls and sign calls yourself, what percentage of the people that call you, the buyers that call you, are quality buyers? 2 out of 10? 3 out of 10 maybe? So if your hotline gets you 3 out of 10, you should be happy, because that means you didn't have to call 10 to get 3. The hotline did the job for you. So even if you're calling them back yourself, every one of these hang-ups, you're not going to get much more than that. That's the idea of the scripts, is we don't want everyone to leave a message. We only want the best of the best to leave a message, because those are the only ones that we're going to be working with anyway. All right. So we'll wrap it up for today. I hope you've enjoyed our webinar as much as we've enjoyed being here. Take care and go sell some houses.